what happens. I guess it's not really a bell. It's a lantern that we kind of spiral into.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Oh right.
yeah, yeah. Welcome to Owlbear Soup. I'm Justin,
And I'm Rich.
and today we're going to talk about board games.
Gosh.
But first,
Right. That is our major soup, and we got appetizers. We got small soups.
This is our seasoning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to season your soup. Cool. All right. Well, I think we'll start out with this little topping, this little seasoning,
Okay.
and I believe we're talking about the DC animated universe and the DC movies. And we're gonna make this brief because I could go on for at least an hour on this topic.
Right.
But Rich, you asked me a very, very important question, and that was, should you watch Batman versus Superman because it's on HBO Max?
It's available. Should I watch it?
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, I have, because I can't make decisions like that. But now that I already have, I want your advice.
Okay. So my advice would have been this. Do you love the DC universe? Like, love it. Like, if you had to kill off one of the major comic book companies, and we're just gonna talk about the big two, so Marvel and DC, which one would you get rid of permanently? Like, they go out of business and we get no more of their products tomorrow.
Gosh, I don't want to say this to you. I think I'm a little bit more of a Marvel fan.
Yeah. Well, and I understand. Not everyone has taste. But
that's a tough choice. That was a tough choice.
So in that case, I would say no, right? Like, I would say probably just skip it, right? It doesn't add anything to the continuity. It doesn't really do a whole lot there. And it's pretty grimdark, which, we'll talk about when we do the comic episode. We'll talk about grimdark and my aversion to it, as far as, my favorite four-color funnies go. Yeah, so I would say avoid it unless you're a little bit of a glutton for punishment.
Okay.
It's long, it's drawn out. It's essentially like, a 2-hour fight scene. The best part is the stinger at the end, which hopefully they capitalize on it, but
I'm trying to remember now.
So Deathstroke goes onto the boat where you see a Lex Luthor with a shaved head. Or is that from Justice League? Now I'm getting confused. That was a great stinger.
Anyway. That's awesome. So I will totally talk about that, because one of my favorite DC movie scenes so far has been, okay, just bear with me here.
Yeah.
The Aquaman National Treasure bit.
Oh, in Aquaman the movie?
The bit in Aquaman the movie where he becomes Indiana Jones. Like, that's...
Oh, that was so good.
It was great.
Yeah, and I agree with Jonathan. Wonder Woman was the best part of Batman versus Superman. I will watch that movie again. I will watch... I just love DC, so seeing the heroes that I grew up enjoying and loving on this big screen, I will suffer a lot. I mean, I suffered through, Joel Schumacher making Batman Neon. I suffered through Christian Bale leaning into the grimdark Batman. I've sufferred through a lot. So just seeing those people up there, yeah, I said I suffered through the Christian Bale Batman.
That's wow. I mean, sure, yeah. I'll take that. Because it's not the bright and shiny superheroes, but it is certainly a Batman aesthetic.
It is a Batman. Yeah. I don't rank Heath Ledger as my favorite Joker. So, but yeah, so that would be my opinion. I unless you're a DC diehard, I would skip Batman versus Superman.
Okay. On a similar note, should I watch the Batman versus Robin animated movie?
100% yes.
Okay.
The DC animated universe, they do such a good job. It is amazing. They tell the stories well, and they're very they feel like that great kind of enjoyable comic reading most of the time, right? And I will say it's the Frank Miller influence that I think has kind of ruined a lot of comics, for me at least. Some people like that kind of edgy, grimdark type of feel, but a lot of times in the cartoons and the cartoon movies, you get more of that 80s feel that of where DC was before the Dark Knight Returns. And you look at things like even Batman versus Robin, it's telling the story, if I remember correctly, it's been a while, it's telling the
Okay.
story of Damian Wayne. And so Damian
Oh.
Wayne is the current Robin. And so it's a really interesting dynamic between those two, because it is Bruce Wayne's son, but it's Damian Wayne. And and
Yeah.
I don't know if you know who that is, so I don't want to spoil that.
I've got some, yeah.
But it's
But I would love to see that.
yeah. So it's really good. Also, I would say like the best superhero movie, in my opinion, is the Teen Titans Judas Contract, which is an
Okay.
animated feature.
I've also been seeing that.
Yeah, that's great. It's fantastic. And then New Frontier. New Frontier is another fantastic animated one, and it's even a step further back, right? It feels much more like Golden Age. Even the drawing style very much mimicked the graphic novel that New Frontier was based on, and it's a beautiful animated feature.
Oh my gosh. All right, I'm gonna watch all of these before next week, so we'll be able to talk more about them.
Yeah.
Oh wow. So okay, you were talking about not enjoying the Christian Bale Batman. What did you think about the 4-part Batman series before that? The Clooney, the Kilmer, the Keaton.
Yeah. So and when I say I don't enjoy the Christian Bale Batman, like that's on a scale of it's already amazing because it's DC.
Mm-hmm.
So I love
Okay.
it. And
Fair.
I think it's a solid movie, but I don't like that Batman. And in fact, like reading Batman comics or anything around Gotham, Batman's always been my least favorite character. Like it's always been his cast of characters around him, Batgirl, Robin, Red Robin, Nightwing, all those people. Like,
Right.
it's just like those are the people I really enjoy. So
Right, they're the ones who brighten up the story a little bit. They can add a little bit more
Right.
than brooding.
Exactly, yeah. And so with the original ones, I had some issues with it as it got later. I thought Michael Keaton was good. He's pretty untouchable, but there's also some problems there, right? I hate it whenever you kill your big bad guy at the end of the very first movie, right? So when you killed off the Joker, Jack Nicholson's Joker in the first film, I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, well,
Yeah.
maybe we should have given him an escape plan or something. So
Right.
anyway.
Yeah, I thought about that a little bit more. Well, I got a ridiculous surprise this week. My mom contacted me and was like, "I have these old things, and I
Oh.
would like to send them to you."
Yes.
And I said, yes, immediately, please. And I don't know if you remember this, but when Batman Forever came out, McDonald's did a series of glasses. I put these like in front of my face so that you can actually, because they just go away up here.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
I
That's
don't know
amazing.
if you can see the detail on these, but they're these ridiculous Batman
Oh,
glasses.
those are so good.
And so we have Batman. We have Robin as
Oh,
well.
so
That's
good.
is that Chris McDonald? I can't remember what his
Something like
name
that.
is.
Yeah.
We have the Riddler, and this is my favorite one because like the Riddler staff comes off the edge and creates the handle.
Oh, that's
cup.
so good. Yeah.
So now I've got a screaming Riddler anytime I want. And then Two-Face with this
Oh,
cup or coin that he flips around and becomes the entire handle.
that's so good.
I hope that these are coming across well enough, but she was like, I have to send these to you because they need to exist still. And we always collected like glassware from these back. I don't know if you remember when Dairy Queen always had like the Portland Trail Blazers glasses, and they were like huge pint glasses. It was ridiculous. My mom was all about it. She loved collecting these things. So
Yeah.
we have this Batman glassware collection now.
That's amazing. Yeah. Oh no. All right. So, catching up real quick with the chat. Yes, I do have taste because Aquaman is an amazing movie. And I do have 2 posters up in my house. One of them is on the bathroom door because I think it's hilarious that Aquaman is guarding the bathroom door.
Oh, good.
And catching up, this week is Richard's birthday.
That's true.
Well, happy birthday.
Hey, thanks. It's
Welcome.
gonna happen this week.
To the next year of your life this week.
All of time is both compressed and expanded right now, so
Yes.
it's like it'll be my birthday forever.
Also, a warning from Jonathan: those glasses will break in the dishwasher.
No, no, Jonathan, no. I gotta look at the bottom.
Not dishwasher safe.
I'll wash them lovingly by hand forever. Yeah. That's all.
Yeah, and there was aspects of Batman Forever that I enjoyed, and there was aspects of Batman and Robin that I enjoyed. But yeah, I should probably go back and watch those just because of the camp, right?
Right. They threw it in there, and it makes me understand why when they eventually went to Christian Bale, they changed it so dramatically.
Yeah.
Because I think some people didn't like the camp, but me, I love the camp. I loved it in these movies. I loved it in the campy Punisher movie that came out.
Oh yeah, with Thomas Jane.
Yeah, with Thomas Jane. I love that movie so much. Camp is good for me, so I'm excited to have this entire full-length discussion next time after watching some animated movies. I want to be able to bust these out.
All right. Well, yeah. Let's maybe here in a week or two, we'll have our comic book episode where we just talk about comic book stuff for an hour.
All right. Yes.
But this week,
I wanted to talk about games some more.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about board games. We're gonna ride the coattails of Spiel des Jahres, and talk about we both tasked ourselves with coming up with a list of our top 5 favorite board games, and we know this is always changing for everybody. And we both successfully came to the podcast today with 7. So
yeah, I have a lot of trouble with top 5s or top 10s. I always end up with way too many because it's narrowing it down. But I think, put them in order.
I put them in order.
I can't.
I had to think about that.
Oh my god, it's like, what's your favorite board game? Is like, which is your favorite child? It's just can't be done. I was really excited about this because the Spiel des Jahres, we talked about it a little bit, but it's focused on games that are successful or available in the German market, and they're called Game of the Year, but at the same time we've kind of nailed down that there's a couple different aesthetics to board games, and so we have the Euro game, right? The divide for a long time has been Ameritrash and Euro,
right?
And as we were having this big discussion recently with a bunch of designers. We're trying to boil it down to the simplest difference between the two games and the easiest way to explain it. Because it's not, I don't know, like fans of one hate the other for some reason. And I just don't know. I just don't know why. Because they're both good. But you often don't see these American style games in the Spiel des Jahres unless they fit this specific theme. So in a Euro game, here's the difference. Are you ready? Here's what I think it is. Here's what we nailed down. In an American game, you make a plan, and then randomness affects the outcome.
Okay.
So like Risk, right?
Okay.
I'm going to start attacking this. I've got my plan. I'm going to go over here. The dice will tell me if I succeed or not.
Okay.
Okay. A Euro-style game, randomness happens first. You know what's available. You get to plan the outcome from there.
Interesting.
So like Pandemic, start of your turn, all the wild, wacky stuff happens, and then you see the world as it is, and you get to fight back as best you can. And nothing can mess with that while you're fighting back until randomness happens again, before the next turn.
Okay. So following that logic, what does no, that definitely fits that. Yeah. So I was thinking worker placement games, right?
Traditional Euros, right?
Yes.
Because you get to say, I will do this thing and I will get this, I can make sure that with my 3 placements, unless you get in my way, I have a plan and I'm going to get exactly what I want out of it.
Okay. I like that.
Right.
Yeah.
If you can plan and get the outcomes that you plan for, it's more Euro style. So Pandemic, Azul is another one like that, right?
Yes.
Tiles get laid out at random. And then from there, there's no more randomness in the game.
Okay.
Until the tiles get laid out again.
Yeah. Even deck builders have an ability to control the randomness after the randomness happens.
Right.
Okay.
So you have this limit. Although I don't think you would see a deck builder in the Spiel des Jahres. I would have to check.
Yeah.
But it feels too random to be perfectly satisfying to that like pure Euro aesthetic.
Cool.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that nailed it, right?
And
Yeah, no, because I'm trying to go backwards and try to look at the games, even the games I put on the list. I'm
uh-huh,
like, all right, okay, Euro, Euro,
right.
Euro, Euro.
See,
Uh,
I have some American ones on there because I enjoy it. Right, that roll of it all comes down to the roll of the dice. That's an exciting thing. Risk is not on my list, but it was kind of painful because those games aren't on the Spiel des Jahres list, which means
right.
they're just not up for board game of the year, which I find sad. I mean, you have the Ennies for that, I suppose, but
Yeah, which I mean, the Ennies are, interesting.
yeah.
Uh, the So yeah, we were tasked with figuring out what our favorite 5 board games of the moment are. And I, being the overachiever, and actually it's not even overachiever, it's the way I have to think about it, is I have to think about a priority. So why don't I, since I did that, why don't I go ahead and start with my 5, and then my number 5, and then you can give me one of yours, and we can kind of talk about it, and then
Okay.
maybe the one I pick will inspire which one you want to talk about.
That sounds good. Okay, I'm
So
excited.
so at number 5, I did bring up worker placement. I love worker placement games. Surprisingly, I only put one on this list. I tried it in my head. I was like, okay, well, I want variety as I'm picking my favorite games, and it kind of worked that way,
Mhm.
right? I'm gonna go with Lords of Waterdeep is going to be my number 5. It's a fantastic game. It's based in the Forgotten Realms D&D world, but you could easily take that game and slap any veneer on it, and the mechanics of it are fantastic.
Mhm.
One of the things that I really loved about this game was the box insert. The box insert was fantastic. I love box inserts that work well. It was a
Yeah.
very good box insert.
Mhm.
The other thing I loved is the community around the game when it first came out. Like, if you remember, everybody bought different meeples for that game. Like,
Uh-huh.
everybody did.
Yeah.
I think I probably have the only copy that's still alive with the original little cubes representing each of the, different factions.
Mhm. Oh
Yeah,
my
no,
gosh.
I love Lords of Waterdeep. In fact, I'm tempted to reinstall it on my phone and, bring all the challengers because,
Yeah.
man, it's such a good game.
That is one of the few games that has remained on my phone for just years because I love just, if I'm commuting on the bus or something, I'll just crack that open and beat the crap out of 2 computer players because it's
Yeah.
just fun.
Yeah.
It's such a good game. So that's a great choice. I was immediately like, that wasn't on my list and it should be. Okay, I have 2 deck builders. Get rid of this one. Lords of Waterdeep is so much better.
All right. So
uh,
yeah, Lords of Waterdeep, and then I love the expansion too. The expansion was
mhm.
great. It
Oh,
added so much
absolutely.
depth to the game. Like, so good, so good.
I rarely get to play with is it Skullport that has the
Uh-huh.
corruption?
Yeah.
Right. I'll always play with Undermountain, like make stuff bigger. That is cool. But the corruption bit I love because that risk reward idea
Mhm.
is really fun.
I love Risk Reward. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And in
Usually, and for me, usually I always end up like, if I'm only gonna do one, I do also like doing two, even though that's ridiculous.
Mhm.
I tend to go Skullport.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Because I love that mechanic so much. It's
It
so
is
good.
good. Gosh, I keep playing solo games. I should just install that. Like,
All
but
right,
I'm
I'm
always like,
installing
no,
it,
big
and
things, big things.
I'm installing it, and the challenge is coming.
Okay. All right.
Owlbear Soup Lords of Waterdeep competition happening.
That is very exciting. Let's see. What does that inspire me on my list? Hmm. I have a couple games. So I have a couple like more war style games rather than
Yeah.
the worker placement games,
Uh-huh.
and I couldn't decide between the two, but I'm gonna go with uh, Spirit Island. I think this was a tricky one. I have this one and I have Rise of Tribes, both as my like games that simulate battles. But I want to go with Spirit Island because the convention of it is very weird. You are playing. It is a colonization style like 4X whatever game.
Uh-huh.
Where this island is being invaded by all these colonial forces, and rather than playing any of the colonists, you play one of the deities of the island trying to get those colonists out.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and so there's a cool mechanic where, like Pandemic, where the colonists spread in between turns, and your
Mhm.
entire turn is about managing them and trying to limit that and push them out, like destroying the towns before they can become cities, and the scouts before they can become towns, and things like that. Um, and it's a pretty high level game. There's a lot of complexity to it, so But once you have overcome that, there's so many cool options, and all of the deities are so different. You can have ones that are really good at like direct damage and destroying these things. You can have ones that are good at fear, which will run stuff off and give cool mechanics in the game. It's a fantastically wild, diverse game, and I love that it twists it like that and just says that the colonists were our whole point is to kick them out.
Nice.
Very, very, very good.
Cool. Yeah. No, I haven't not. I may have played that like early on at a game storm or something, but I can't remember if it was that one or something else. But anyway,
I
played a lot of games at game storms.
That makes sense. I played that game at a PAX probably 7 times.
Oh wow! All right.
I'm a fan. I really like it. And there is an expansion for it that adds even more complexity to it and more deities to play and beasts and plants, and it's so cool. I've never played a game like it, which is nice. So I think that comes in at my number 5. I'll be there.
All right, great. Jonathan has mentioned it occurs to him that he is subconsciously waiting for a choice I disagree with, and these lists, I need to be at peace with the fact that these are all great choices. All right, so at some point I'm going to challenge that, Jonathan, because I can't put together any list without something that's like something that I love dearly that I don't expect anyone else to love. But this next game is not it.
Okay. All right, give me your number 4. Do you have a copy? Are you about to lift it up? Oh, you
number 4.
Oh, what a good choice. Oh my gosh.
Number 4, Takenoko.
Every time I see one of yours, I get hurt because I'm like, that's not on my list. And it should be.
Takenoko is such an amazing game to pick up and play with new players, not just because it's cute and like all the pieces are fantastically crafted and you know, of course the box is great. It's just a very easy game to learn and understand, and it's so deep with strategy. There's so many ways to win that game and just play that game, and it's such a good game for new players who are getting into a little bit more of the complex games, because it's not a complex game, but it has a lot of the ideals that you would have in a complex game.
Right, and
so in this game,
it's got beautiful pieces too.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful game. Yeah. So in this game, you are really like nothing, right? You don't actually exist in this world, and all you're doing is controlling the chaos that's happening on the ground. And on the ground, you have a panda who just wants to eat bamboo. You have bamboo that just wants to grow, and you have a gardener who just wants to help grow it. And using a series of tiles and little chits and all kinds of stuff, you create this beautiful garden, and you have it. You have your panda shooting across and eating everything, and it's so good. And the way you play the game is you have these cards that have challenges. So it's to collect a certain type of bamboo, a certain amount of bamboo, or have certain tile arrangements, or let's see, we have the tiles, we have the bamboo. The bamboo arrangements on the tiles, like how many stacks are on each of them. Yeah, so it's such a good game, and it's very interactive. And I've played it at bars, I've played it at game stores, I've played it, in a park. It's so good. So Takenoko is my number 4.
Interesting. You've inspired me to think about a game that I can also play. I've played it with new players a lot. This is a game I've taught way too many times because I helped demo it at a lot of places. Portable, nice, great looking. I almost put Hearts on my list. I was very close because I love that game so much. But the game that is closest to it, that is a board game that I really enjoy, I put Illimat on my list.
Illimat.
I love Illimat because I just love card games that are simple in design, right? I can teach the rules to Illimat in just a few minutes. The gameplay gets, it's very tactical, like where are you going to lay these cards? What are you going to get? There's a lot of randomness in the game as well, which is fun. But the whole idea of Illimat, right? You've played Illimat many times.
I have still not ever played
ever. Illimat. So it's based on a photo that the Decemberists took of just them with some weird stuff in the background. And then one day they were like, let's play with this. We want this to be a game. So It is a card-based game. You're playing them in 4 fields. You're sowing them into the fields. A very like plants thematic, like harvest. The actions are sow and harvest, and the third one, stockpile, I think. And as you're playing and laying these cards out into these fields, you are making them more ripe for harvest. And you also have the Illimat itself, which is this box in the center that represents the seasons. And so throughout the game, as you're laying cards down, you can spin this around and change the seasons in the 4 fields. And for example, in the spring field, you're not allowed to you can't harvest from the winter field because you can't harvest in winter. You can't sow in autumn because that's when you're supposed to be harvesting. So there's this big seasonal dynamic to the field. So as you're playing cards, you're moving that around and affecting what your opponents can do while you're trying to build the best thing for yourself out of this card game. And the Illimat is so good because that game is too complex to play with just cards. Like it adds such a really, really cool aspect to the game. I mean, just for being the box and this really, really great thing. The art's all done by Carson Ellis, I believe, from the Decemberists, who does most of their art. It's so good. It's just such a great, simple, solid game, and I love it. I would play that all the time. Does Jonathan say you play at least once a week now? Yes.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love games that I can share with my mom. Not on this list is Ticket to Ride. It didn't quite make the list. I thought about it, but that's the game that I taught to my mom because once again, pretty simple game, a lot of complexity. So,
right,
awesome.
And I love that one because it does remind me of card games, which is what I wanted. And like I said, I was so close to putting Hearts on this list because I've played Hearts thousands of times. Innumerable. But Illimat, I think, is just a little bit more of a game. It enhances it just a bit more to the board game level.
Nice. All right. Well, we have been talking about cards, and I don't think we've hit a co-op game yet. So I'm going to be busting out the co-op game for this next game. And so it is a co-op deck building game. It is a game in which you play wizards and using a deck building mechanic very similar to Dominion, which I don't like Dominion, but I like the mechanic the way this works because it's co-op, so there's the interactivity. And they released a legacy version, which I have not yet gotten, but I'm going to go with Aeon's End.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I have never played this game. Tell me more.
Yeah, so I think Aeon's End is actually the name of your kingdom, or Aeon's is the name of your kingdom. I'm not 100% sure of the story, but you're a wizard. And so you have this little wizard card, and you set it out in front of you, and that kind of helps you know what your powers are and what you can unlock. One of the really cool things I like about this game is you never shuffle your deck. So the way that works is as you're playing cards and you're discarding them in a specific order. And then you take your discard deck and you flip it over, and it's your deck.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
interesting.
So it adds this level of strategy because you got to think about your hand size. So when you're generating these combos, you have to think, oh, okay, it's like, all right, so I just did 7 cards, I draw 5 cards, so those next 2 will be in this hand. So this is the combo I want to play next, right? A lot of fun. Yeah, Jonathan nailed it. It's kind of like Final Fantasy boss fights in game form.
Ooh.
Yeah, and there's a ton of expansions for it. I have most of them. Here, let me grab a card real quick.
Okay. This is really exciting. This is reminding me of the Marvel deck building game, which was also a co-op, but way better.
Yeah. So the card looks like this. Let's see if I can get it in focus.
Okay.
The card looks like, so the card looks like this, and let's see here. Along the bottom, you have a resource that you can fill to do special powers. It also has your deck goes here, your discard goes here. And then it has other unlocks here, has your starting hand, what your starting hand is, what your starting deck is, and then your other special powers. It's so good. Such a good game. I love it so much.
Wow.
Because I love this game so much, this is one of the few games that I did this with. I have sleeved all 9 bajillion cards in this game because I want it to last forever.
That's a sign that you really enjoy a game. I like that.
9 bajillion cards.
9 bajillion cards. Oh my gosh.
So
Wow.
I think where was that? That was number 3.
That was number 3. I'm trying to decide if I want to do my co-op or my deck builder.
Ooh. Well, I will say I do have more deck building on this list.
Okay, then I will go co-op because the game I put on here, this was a struggle, but I really, really like this game. I put on here the 2nd edition of Mansions of Madness.
Nice.
So because this game is, I love games, you know, like Descent or any of those games where there's like a team battling against the game master and you got your big miniatures that you're moving around, doing some like episodic mission-based story sort of stuff. I love it. And the second edition of Mansions of Madness creates an app that does the DM stuff for you and randomizes things enough that you just can't tell exactly what's going to happen. And it's a game I talk about a lot just for that reason, because I love it. I don't know. I don't have a book that tells me what the next board is. I've been playing Gloomhaven a lot lately. And I know the entire setup of the game. Like I set it all up at the start. I know every challenge that's going to happen before I begin, which just isn't as much fun as like, what's going to happen when I open this door? What am I going to see? I'm an American player, like I said. I don't know what monsters are there. When I attack a monster with a sword, I want to know, like, what are they going to, you know, am I going to need to dodge? Am I going to roll a strength check? Am I going to roll a willpower check to overcome their aura and attack them? It just randomizes so many cool things, and it makes it like, I don't even know, like D&D doesn't even do some of those things for me. Like when I attack, I know what I'm doing, but this game takes that out a little bit and abstracts it, and it makes it really, really like, I don't know, just a strange challenge, and I love it.
Yeah, I have not played my version of Mansions of Madness since the 2nd edition came out, because I have the 1st edition, and oh my god, setup just takes so long with that game. And when that came out, then I was like, oh great, now I have all these amazing minis, because I'm never going to play this game again until I buy the 2nd edition, because 2nd edition just looks like such an improvement.
It's really, really good. And they basically took that idea and then also made the Lord of the Rings adventure game. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's also app-based and you're moving around a map, and they like dug into the storytelling. So there's this big mission, very randomized, about where the items are you're looking for and things like that. And that app-based, it's just so cool. Like even in the computer games I'm used to, like Baldur's Gate doesn't have randomization in it really, right? Everything's set, everything's scripted. There's AI that's different, but like this, the adventure is part of the AI, and it can change and adapt based on what you're doing and what items you have and what choices you've made in the past, and it's fantastic.
Journeys into Middle Earth.
Journeys into Middle Earth.
Nice.
Yep. It's really good. It's really cool. We played that. We went to a game store and hung out there and played like 6 missions in a row or something. They were like, awesome. Join our library, hang out, play games. And we did.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I love that game. I like a lot of the HP Lovecraft-esque games. Your Elder Signs, your why can I not remember the big one that there's like 30 boxes?
Arkham Horror.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that one's fun, so long as I can walk up to the table and it's already set up.
Right. They made another version, Eldritch Horror, and I liked it better because it was smaller, for sure. But one of the things they did is, and it's also the case in these other games, like they continue this, but this mechanic I love. Whenever you cast a spell, right? In Arkham Horror, you cast a spell, you know what the spell does. In these games, when you get like the the rack spell, for example, you take a deck of them. You draw one off the top, and it says, I cast the rack spell on one side. Do not turn this card over until you cast the spell. And once you cast it, all of the backs are different. And so sometimes the spell is more powerful. Sometimes it hurts you a little bit to cast. Sometimes, you've got to do a couple different things. And that mechanic is really, really cool, because now suddenly I don't know exactly what my spells are. I've got like wild surges going on all the time, basically, right? And that's fun. Awesome. That makes spell casting more interesting. And they've continue to bake that into the later games.
That's awesome.
I'm a fan.
All right. So I did say I have more deck builders on this, but we're not building a deck right now. We're going to build a kingdom first. And we're going to pick King Domino.
Perfect choice.
This is an amazing game. Oh yeah, I love all the green on this box getting picked up by my chroma key.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, King Domino was a Spiel des Jahres winner in 2017. This is a game where each person has their own kingdom, and you attempt to build the most profitable kingdom you can, and the most profitable one wins. This game takes about 15 to 20 minutes to play. You can crank out like 3 or 4 rounds in an afternoon, no problem. It's great. I have nothing bad to say about this game. Not that I've had anything bad to say about these games, but I'm just so blown away by that. It's great for 2 players. It's great for 4 players. There's some expansions that push it up to 5. There's also Queen Domino, which is a variation, and I haven't played that one yet. Yeah, I don't know how else to explain this game really, but it's really a fantastic game. It feels a lot like Carcassonne, which if we did a top 10, Carcassonne would be on the top 10.
Sure. Yeah.
It feels a lot like Carcassonne in that by connecting certain tiles, you're expanding this portion of your empire, and in that will give you more points based on how many crowns are on the individual pieces. Mm-hmm. But oh yeah, it was exactly a year ago. Jonathan was playing with you.
Oh hey,
in King Domino.
Oh, that game is so. I really like that game. I'm with you. Yeah. It took me a while to put together that is Kingdom and Domino at the same time. I was just like, oh, it's the best Domino. It's a king. It's a King Domino. I really like that game. That's such a good choice. I love the drafting mechanic in it. Is so solid. Mm-hmm. Right. Again, you can make your best plan, but someone might take the tile that you want. So you're like, I'm on my second plan or my third plan, maybe. Yeah. It's so fun. I love playing it 2-player because you get to build this 7x7 grid instead of a 5x5. You can play with all the tiles. Oh, it's so good.
It's such a good game. Yeah. No, and I really love the turn-taking mechanic too, because you could bank, like if you look at the cards and you're like, okay, well, maybe I want to hold it back a little bit and may hope for a better card next time, or I really need that card and I played well, so I'm gonna move. Yeah, so good. Mm-hmm. Such a good kind of. It's not press your luck. What is that? That's planning and hoping for the best.
Yeah, right. But it's good because if you play 3 players, my least favorite, because some of the tiles get left out.
Yeah.
Which means it's harder to plan, right? So mm-hmm. I just don't know if the tile I'm looking for will actually be in the game. It's way more fun to know it's in the game and just hope that I get it and you don't, because I want it real bad. Yeah. I haven't played Queen Domino. I know it adds a market, and so it's going to add some more variation. King Domino is such a perfect game all on its own that it's hard for me to want to grab an expansion to it because I'm a little bit worried.
Yeah. Yeah. No. One thing we should also talk about at some point is the ideal amount of players per game, because like you said, for example, King Domino is great at 2 and great at 4, not so great at 3, right? Same thing with like Takenoko, right? There's a certain amount of players where it's good, right? 3 is okay, 2 is good, 4 is fantastic, right? So
right.
and I think it's important sometimes to think about games that they're definitely built for a certain amount of players in mind, mm-hmm. And keeping that in mind. And I think, and I wish more boxes said ideal player count is this, but we support this to this.
Right.
Yeah, they might not sell as many games.
That's true. Yeah, because everybody wants, you want your game to have 2-player rules, even if mm-hmm. the game is really like, a multiplayer sort of game. So how do you take that and like bake it down to a 2-player level? Mm-hmm. And I'm never sold by that. I mean, it can be good for sure, but that always sounds to me like they're going to alter the game in such a way that it's not the game anymore. It's a slightly different game. Is that going to be as good? I don't know. Adding the 6th player is also always one. It's like, you didn't put it in there on purpose. So
right. Yeah.
What is that going to do to balance?
Right. When they add, this is one of those times where I think it's great to have expansions. I think having the expansion that adds the next player, I think typically is a little more play tested, a little more thought out, a little more prepared than just like, or, oh, by the way, if you happen to have 6 players, you can kind of cram it in this way and hope for the best.
Right. Yeah, like you mentioned, Lords of Waterdeep. When you get an extra player, you also get more spaces on the board, so it's naturally works with more players. Like that's smart.
Yeah, and I don't think Lords of Waterdeep is any good, or I think it's not that it's not any good, but it's not as good with 2 players. I think that's a game where you really benefit by having 3+.
Yeah, I agree.
And I don't
2
know
players.
No, I'm looking. Yeah, it's
2 players, the score gets really, really high. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
But it feels like you're playing a different game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Have we made it? Are we on?
Well, so next will be my number 1.
Ooh, right. So
and
I need
my runners up.
my comparison. So you were building kingdoms. I would like to go with building haunted houses.
Oh.
I could not make a top 5 without putting Betrayal at House on the Hill on it. There's just no way.
No, I didn't think you could.
I love that game. I've owned the copy that I have is still from their first printing where the board tiles were all warped for some reason.
Oh yeah.
And they were like, they put out this note, send them in and we'll give you a replacement copy, right? And that was, I don't know, 1999 or something like that. And I was like, I will not send them in. That means I won't be able to play it. And I don't know if I trust you to send that. Like, I just didn't believe it for some reason. And so I still have these old terrible tiles. I have a new copy, so it's fine. But that is such a wonderful game because it's the perfect, like that distinction about American versus Euro. It's the perfect American game, right? Mm-hmm. I am going to choose to wander through this haunted house and just see what happens. I don't know what's going to happen. There's a huge deck of events that they're all different. Who knows what's going to happen or how it's going to affect my character in very drastic ways. Mm-hmm. Like this event might give me 2 more sanity points or it might drop it down to 1 or something. Who knows? Yeah. Very, very random game, which is can be so frustrating, but also can be so much fun. I really have a good time exploring this house, wandering through with a group of people. And at the start, it's not a cooperative game, but it's also not a competitive game.
Right, you don't know.
You're just exploring for a while. And then the haunt happens and everybody goes wild and one person betrays everybody else and they've got to figure out how to stop them in one of 50 or now 100 different haunts that you could play, 100 different horror stories of some kind. It's so cool. That switch between competitive and cooperative is really, really interesting to me. I think that is fun. I love the variance, right? So you play and I don't know what the final story is going to be. You don't know at the start. No one knows it until halfway through. And it's so rare that I've been like, we've done this haunt before. Let's do a new one. Because we might be in a totally different place. Like sometimes you get a haunt that is really, really hard because the board is small and you don't have very many people. And sometimes the board is really big and you have a full team of 6 players and it's super easy to win.
Right.
All that stuff just is built in. It is such a variable game, and thematically, it's just so good. Like I really love everything about that game.
Yeah, it's so good. And then of course, the sequel was released, and that was
Widow's
great.
Walk. Yep, got my great haunts in there that Laser and I wrote, and I love like still to this day. I can't remember the last one we got, but people will send us the name of the cat because Laser wrote a cat name generator into that haunt.
That's so good.
It's so good. Funny. It's such a perfect thing. But yeah, ours is about cats because fun.
yeah. Makes total sense. All right, so this next game, this is my number 1 game.
This is your number 1 game. Okay.
This is my number 1 game.
Okay.
People who know me well know what my number 1 game is. Like very well. So a little backstory on my number 1 game. So it's a deck builder. I love deck builders. The idea of deck builders, like Dominion, I think is kind of the one who established that play style of deck building. And then this game called Ascension came out and changed the way we did deck building.
Right.
That way was kind of in Ascension was designed by people who were heavily involved with Magic the Gathering, whether they were championship players or designers. And so that style of deck building specifically is my favorite style of deck building too. I love the huge stack of cards. I love the lineup. I love cycling through cards. It's a ton of fun. And there is, in my opinion, no game that does it better than the DC deck building.
I knew it.
This is the game where I could definitely see some people going, really? That's your number 1? I just love this game.
Yeah.
I will play it anytime. I have all the expansions. It's fast. All the heroes play slightly differently. So when you play this game, well, for us, because I have all the expansions in a box, first you pick your expansion, then you pick whether you're going to do co-op or versus, and then you pick your hero or villain, depending on which version. And each of the heroes or villains modify the way that you play cards. So, for instance, the Flash. Anytime you draw a card, you have a card that triggers you to draw a card, you draw an extra card, right? It's
Okay.
not game breaking, but it's interesting, and it changes the way you play that. So your strategy going into this game is going to be slightly different than the person across from you who is playing, Batman, and he has something to do with equipment. So I think I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think you play an equipment card and you get to pull an equipment card from your discard pile and put on top of your deck or something like that,
Sure.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I love games that modify decks. I love games that change the way the base game plays. So it hits it solid. I love DC, of course. I love DC superheroes.
Yeah.
And then the way it expands is just so good. There's just an infinite amount of expansions that they could do for this game, and I will buy all of them.
That is awesome. That is such a good choice. Like I said earlier, I've played, I think, the Marvel one more, but the Marvel one is much simpler. And Sentinels in the Multiverse in the same way. I love that they build the hero really into the story. Like your deck is different based on it. Marvel, you're an agent and you draw from a bunch of heroes to build your deck, so that's a totally different story. But it is pretty cool that they all play differently. Wow.
And the thing I like about it's the system too, right? Because you also have the Naruto game, which is a ton of fun. You have the Street Fighter version, which is a ton of fun. Basically, they have this really good deck building system set up, and I think it's called Cortex or Cypher. One of those is a role-playing one. One of those
Cortex. Cortex.
And then they just build games on top of this. Like I think there's a Rick and Morty one.
Sure.
It's just the mechanic is so well produced that it really creates this engaging deck building game. And it's the one complaint I would say, and that's I did it to myself, is it's a bit bulky. There's a lot of pieces to it, which I think brings me really closely. And I'm gonna go ahead and bring up my runners up. Both of them are very similar in that they're practically the same game. So when I say runners up, it's one game, but it's kind of two games. I'm gonna go with Hero Realms.
Oh, okay.
The deck builder in a box, right? It plays very similarly. You don't have the heroes. But it's a game that I can throw in my backpack and we're good to go.
Yeah.
Yes, it is Cryptozoic who publishes DC. So Hero Realms, and then of course Star Realms, which is the other version of this. It's fantastic. I love those games. And this
they're good.
So those are going to be that's DC deck building's my number one, and my runners up are Star Realms and Hero Realms.
I see. That is really cool. I am also a big fan of deck builders. I almost I had Ascension written down on this list. And I took it off because it's the other one that's on my phone.
Yeah.
That I could just cycle through and play all the time. It's a ton of fun. I used to teach with Ascension. Like the core game is such a classic, good game. But for me, for a favorite game, it's got to get a little bit more intense. I want to play. Okay, I'm gonna come visit. We're gonna play DC Deck Builder a bunch more. I need more experience with that game. I went with Clank in Space.
Oh, Clank in Space.
Which I find slightly superior to Clank. Right. Have you played the Clank games?
I have not.
Okay. It is a competitive deck builder. And the part that makes it competitive is in this game, you have infiltrated a spaceship. There is an angry captain of the ship who is going to stop your heist if possible, and you're trying to make as little noise as you can so you don't wake the captain up. You're going to try and explore the ship and steal one of his many treasures, and then get back to your ship to escape. So there's a huge board element to this, and you're playing these cards to move throughout. Like there are cards that help you move, there are cards that will open doors, there are cards that will give you special abilities as you're moving through and allow you to pick things up. It's wild because your turns start, you get to purchase cards to add to your deck, and you have to use those cards to play a board game, which I think is a fun, cool dynamic. And it's competitive because some of those treasures are closer but worth fewer points. Some are farther away, worth a ton more points. So a classic strategy in the first one is to race in, grab the very first treasure, and get out, and then hope that the captain kills everybody else, so you end up with the highest score. Because you don't score anything, there's a safe zone. You get bonus points if you get to the escape pods. If you don't even get to the safe zone, you don't score any points at all. So
oh no.
You can leave people. There's this risk reward mechanic in how deep you want to go into the maze. If you have a really good deck, you can start to overcome that. But it's lucky. Maybe I'm not getting the right draws, the right cards I want, so I'm going to go for something a little bit safer and get out. That's a ton of fun. The main mechanic is Clank itself, noise. And so when you use certain actions, you generate noise, which are these cubes of your color that get put into a sack. Whenever someone triggers the captain, the captain will basically draw a number of cubes out of that, and if your color cube comes up, you get hurt.
Oh no!
And that's your life total. So the louder you are, the more likely it is that you will be hurt. And if you die, you die. If you die in the safe zone, that's fine. You still score points. But if you die way inside the ship, no good.
Man.
And so the captain gets stronger as the game goes on. So there's more stress about the whole thing. The captain attacks are based on the deck building deck. So as you're drawing those cards and filling it up, you get more of those attacks. It's a really cool, stressful, amazing game. And I love that it's built on a deck builder. It's so good.
Yeah. So you said when somebody gets knocked out, are they out of the game completely, or is there some kind of post-death mechanic?
They basically, I think, first of all, you get to gleefully try to hurt everybody else. So
nice.
First of all, no. But when it comes to your turn, you automatically get to draw for the captain. In the first version of the game continued forever, I think. But in the second version, I think that in Clank in Space, as soon as someone escapes or as soon as someone dies, the game ends in like the next 2 rounds. So there is an end mechanic. But in the first one, if you got knocked out really early, like everybody else could keep playing for a little while.
Okay.
Not that the game takes dramatically long. It's also really quick to reset and play again because it's one of those games you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you just, you beat me. I want to get in and do it again. A lot of deck build. It's longer reset because you could basically take some of the boards and flip them over and get new rooms and things like that. Oh my gosh.
Clonk.
Fun fact, the German version is called Klonk. I'm gonna call it Klonk forever now.
It's now Klonk. Yeah, we had Tails on a couple weeks ago, and one of his favorite board games is Klonk Legacy.
Right.
So.
Yeah, which now I really want to play. And I had mentioned the Clank in Space, the Klonk in Space, the solo game that they have on the app is this very like narrative based. You need to go do very specific things as you're getting in and out, and it was challenging. But it was fun for one player, that's for sure.
That's awesome. Let's see here. So, that did kind of wrap up. I didn't think we were going to get through all these games. But you said you had a couple runner-ups. Did you want to?
The only one I would feel bad not mentioning Codenames.
Okay.
I wrote this list and I was like, Codenames isn't in my list, but it should be. It's because it's the party game we break out the most. So depending on the crowd, if I want to dig into a game night and play something big, those 5 are like it. I mean, Illimat a little bit later, but we could play multiple sessions or whatever. Codenames is such a good game for any size group of people, really just split up into 2 teams and go. That's such a positive, powerful game. Codenames Duet, great for 2 players or also as many people as you want, because now we're all on the same team.
Yep.
Codenames Pictures, they're just all good. Those are all great. Last time we played Wavelength, so I don't need to mention that one.
Yeah.
I felt bad not saying Codenames.
Yeah, I'd be more interested in playing Wavelength at this point as far as party games, just because I've never played it. The two style of games that 3 style of games that I'm not a huge fan of are party games. I tend to lose interest very quickly. I like party games for breaking the ice, and then I only want to play 1 round to get everyone talking, and I want to be done. And then I also don't like what's werewolf is one.
Social deduction.
Yeah, I don't like those.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like those where you have someone who is the betrayer and it's a secret, and I'm not a big fan of those. They're fun, right? They're fun in a very specific window, but for me, like I couldn't say, oh hey everybody, let's have a game night, why don't we play werewolf? It's like no.
Yeah.
All right. Secret Hitler I think is one too. And then the last type of game that I really dislike is dexterity games.
Oh.
Yeah, I do not like dexterity games. Because I don't know, I'm pretty dexterous, so it's like whatever. Yeah. So anyway,
I like that. I was thinking about Ice Cool, which actually won, I think, the Kennerspiel, the Kinderspiel, whichever one, which is a cool little dexterity game. They're usually not my favorite, but we did play that one once and had some fun with it.
All right. Yeah, I've yet to play a dexterity game that I've enjoyed for more than one round.
Yeah.
All right. So a couple of quick announcements. Itch.io, they have a bundle for racial justice and equality going. It's raised a bunch of money. It's totally worth checking out. There's some fantastic games in there. I tossed it in the chat. Go check that out. I was looking through, and there's a few games that are just really totally worth the price of admission right there.
Good.
The next thing I want to make sure everyone knows about is we do have a Owlbear Soup Discord. We are also opening that up to Dread Pirate Rabbits and Atomic Game Theory folks. Make sure to hop in there, join in, and tell us what your top 5 board games are. And let's see. I guess what's going on with you other than your birthday coming up this next week?
Oh my gosh, this is my last week to get my camp ready, so I won't have a lot of public stuff going on, that's for sure, but I am taking a bunch of videos that I've gotten from amazing people about things they love about D&D, and building them into little montages that I can be like, all right, here's 2 minutes on character classes, folks. Something real quick. They are so cool. I am so happy watching all of them because they... it's just like a person talking about a thing that brings them joy. Which there's very little that makes me happier than that. What else? And then writing my adventures for it. I just wrote my first day adventure, which will be a version of Honey Heist, a little lighter than that. That game's a little more complex than I thought it was.
Yeah.
So I'm going to play a little more like a Lasers and Feelings style version.
Awesome. Kids
will be bear thieves trying to steal some honey from Ranger Rick and his super secret robot lair.
Awesome. I am no longer doing the DJ stream on Monday nights. I'm leaving that night open for other things. I think once we hit 50 followers, I'll probably try to figure out something to do that evening with Owlbear Soup so that we can get our hours in, so we can get affiliates,
nice. Yes.
So that we can unlock other cool tools to help make this experience even more fun. Other than that, Tuesday, 7 o'clock, I'm doing house music and classic flicks again. This week, I'm trying my best to get all my trance songs sorted out. And once I get all my trance songs sorted out, and I want to do a couple trance sets, so get away from house for maybe just a week.
Nice.
Other than that, you can find me on the internets. I'm at 2HitAC0. And Rich, you're R. Molina. And I did add that into the chat so that everyone can follow us there.
Oh, yay!
Yeah.
I looked at the chat and saw Clonk again and got really happy.
Yay, Clonk. I'm going to, I guess we'll go ahead and wrap this up. And what we're going to do is, oh, wait, no. We're not quite wrapping up yet. We're a little early.
Okay.
And I want to make sure that we hit noon, because I'm going to raid us over to the Loading Ready Run team, because our spouses are doing a thing with them today, and it sounds like a lot of fun. So I want to send everyone over there. So in this last minute, speed round, ready?
I'm ready.
What is your favorite D&D enemy and why?
Oh my gosh. Kobolds. I love kobolds. I love them in the Pathfinder version. They're very draconic, and I think that has come over into 5th Ed a little bit more, rather than like lizardish. Like there's that idea that I'm just a tiny dragon and I'm going to grow up to be a real dragon someday. And I love the fun you can have with them and their their ken with this enormous creature. I think it's a ton of fun. They win versus goblins for me.
Agreed. Kobolds are also like that's exactly who I was thinking about whenever I was going to it. And now I'm like, I wish I had something else in my head prepared, but coming from 4th edition, like there were so many cool variations on kobolds, like the rat catcher and all that stuff. And it's very interesting to look back at the 2nd edition kobold, which is almost more dog person like.
Yeah.
And how it's transformed to this little draconic beast that serves dragons. I like the idea that they all think that they're going to grow up to be dragons, but none of them ever live long enough to do it.
Yeah.
That in my head is now canon. That's the way goblins operate.
It's so fun, and goblins don't quite have that like
kobolds.
Yeah. I don't know where now I'm doing it. I don't know where
Yeah.
goblins go to as their leadership structure, but I love that it's just dragons. Just dragons.
Yeah, it's just dragons. All right. And I think with that thought, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Please hang out and swing on over. If the stream's up, I'm going to send us over to Loading Ready Run. Otherwise, make sure to pop in. I think Aubrey's going to do a tour of her Animal Crossing island or something.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
See you later.